And welcome to another episode of the True Patriot Outfitters podcast. Folks, today is May 22nd, Monday, and we have an awesome episode for you here today. This episode brought to you by Trocar Hooks, otherwise known Eagle Claw, and Vicious Fishing. You know, we trust them. You can too. Go check them out. They're making this kind of stuff possible for us. Folks, today we are talking Romans Warrior Foundation, specifically Stop 22 Tour. Most importantly, we have one of the anchor artists of this entire operation here, Mr. Chris Turner. He is with us. We're going to bring him in the studio right now. Welcome to the show, Mr. Turner. How the heck are you?
What's up, buddy? It's good to see you, man.
You as well. You as well, man.
Sure.
I can't thank you enough, man, for coming by the little show here and hanging out with us and sharing your vision, sharing your talents with us here. I love the shirt, by the way.
Thanks you having me, brother.
Of course. So I got a chance to meet you officially. I've been following you online since I've been involved with Romans, but I got a chance to officially meet you at the benefit we did in Murfreesboro at the Hero's Den for Tyler J.
Yeah.
When you were down there. That was super cool.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. And we actually raised quite a bit of money for Tyler, man, and nobody deserves it more than he does. He's one of our fellow Marines. So I was glad to be able to come down there and give back.
Dude, and just seeing the brotherhood, as not being a Marine myself and not being a veteran myself, I can tell you I could still feel the importance. I could feel the bond. I could feel the family and the brotherhood there of people that maybe had never met Tyler before, but you wear the patch, man. That's all that matters. You went through the crucible. That's all that matters. And it was inspiring to say the least, man. I was glad we made the trip down there to watch that unfold. You guys did an awesome job.
Yeah, and that's one thing about Marines, man. It's just like you could never know a Marine in your entire life, and then you find out he's a Marine, and it's just like this instant spark to where it's like, hey, we went through the suck together. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's like that one big family brotherhood, and I don't think there's another bond that's like that throughout. Not taking away from anything from the other branches, but
right,
the Marines, there's so few of us because we're only like 180,000 deep, so it's more personable. So it's a small family, but yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it was a great time. Everybody got along. And we had some great music, great raffles, raised a lot of money. Heroes Den, man. I mean, those guys down there, Sean and his wife, I mean, they always come full, they always come full steam ahead whenever we get ready to do a Stop 22 event down there. And for that, I mean, I'm eternally grateful because they help us get our mission out.
Well, and it's not as if you guys don't have, a lot of stuff going on out there. You especially, man, you've not only are you, one of the anchor members of the Stop 22 tour anytime that, those events come up, but you also have, a full, recording career as well, to boot, that's, outside even of that. So yeah, it's not as if you guys have a free schedule in those cases. So that's super cool to see you guys all rally like that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, being here in Nashville, especially with me, I mean, it's what I do full time. So I'm always hustling and, just trying to make sure that I can get shows and get booked. And in the meantime, even though I don't always do Stop 22 shows or do Warriors on Mission shows, I also do, festivals and fairs and, different honky tonks throughout the U.S. and travel the country. And the one thing that I always make a point to do during my show is to actually talk about Stop 22 and another nonprofit that I'm affiliated with called Warriors on Mission. I always make sure that, I always wanted to give back to my veteran community, and I want to make sure that does not go unnoticed during my live performances.
That's one of the defining pieces that I've noticed, especially about all veterans in general, the majority, if not all that I have encountered, but especially Marines as well, is that service to others piece. That is a absolute staple that I've noticed, throughout my encounters. I've been blessed to get a chance with Brian, obviously being a Marine. I've come to know a lot of you guys and get to meet you and be welcomed in, and that is one of the cool things, that just finding the common denominators. Like, what, service to others is right as a core value, man. Doesn't matter where you're at, what you're doing. If there's something we can do to help, then we're going to help. One way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes back to the old. It's not an old saying, but it is something that us Marines live by. We don't leave any man left behind. So, you know, that applies not only on whether it's in garrison or whether it's on the battlefield or whether it's in the civilian world. I mean, you know, it's always about trying to reach out and grab the hand of another Marine, or even doesn't even have to be a Marine, just another vet who needs some help. I mean, we're always about just not leaving anybody behind. So I think that's where, you know, a lot of that comes from. I know it certainly does for me anyway. You know, it's just always about trying to leave the world a little bit better than you found it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So let's talk about it, man. When did you enter into the United States Marine Corps?
I'm not a combat vet, but I was in from 97 to 01, and I got out, and right after I got out, my unit got deployed.
Oh, wow.
Because, I mean, I got out like right at 9/11.
Right.
And my unit got deployed, and guys went over, and some didn't come back. Right. And, you know, whenever I got out, I moved back home for a short time, and then, you know, I learned how to write and start playing songs whenever I was in the military, and I was like, well, you know what, if I'm ever going to do it, I need to move. So I moved to Nashville in 2010, and been here ever since.
So that's what I was going to say. Were you always around music, or was this something you picked up later in life?
I've always loved it, man. Even whenever I was a teenager, man, there was always a song, right? And whenever I was growing up, we didn't have a whole lot. Hell, we still ain't got a whole lot, but better off now than I was whenever I was a kid.
Hell yeah.
Different times, right? So whenever I was growing up, I always wanted to learn how to. First off, whenever I was in junior high, I wanted to get a snare drum and be in the band. Well, we couldn't do that. So then I was like, well, I want to get guitar. So I guess my mom and dad thought it was just a fad and just didn't even pay it any attention. Nothing wrong with them. You know, you can't make your mind up when you're in middle school or high school or anything. Everything's true. So if you're going to invest money in something, you want to make sure it counts.
Yes, sir.
But, you know, during that whole time frame, you know, there's a backstory there. That's another song for another time. But music was kind of my savior. It was like a mother to me. And that's the reason that I really wanted to get involved with it. So when I joined the military, the first thing I did after comm school is I went to Japan. I went to Okinawa. And for that whole year that I was over there, I just wrote and I learned how to play guitar. And I bought a guitar from my roommate at the time, my barracks mate.
Yeah.
He showed me a GC and a D chord. And the rest of it, man, I learned on my own, and I would sit there in the barracks and I'd pick for 10, 12 hours on the weekends until my fingers bled. I mean, it's just, I was bound and determined to learn how to do it. And then whenever I got back, you know, I started playing around campfires and everybody's like, oh my God, you're so great. You're so great. Unbeknownst to me, when I come to Nashville, man, I suck. So, I mean, you know, of course, when you're around family and friends, everybody's biased and they're going to say, man, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But whenever you get not thrown, but when you decide to move to Music City, USA, man, and you see all the talent here, it humbles the fool out of you. Mm-hmm. So over the past 10, 13 years I've been in town, you know, I've really dove into it and honed my craft, whether that's vocal lessons or me just doing shows and being more comfortable on stage and performing. Because you've seen our show, man, we are 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
So it's just, you know, grabbing bits and pieces from my influences and the way I think my crowd's going to react to it. And I can honestly tell you that I don't think that I would want to be anywhere else, man, because I love it. And I don't just love it for myself because I'm a dream chaser. I love the fact that, you know, I was in Texas about 2 years ago, and there's a woman, I did the song If You Drink, which I think you guys had heard at the beginning of the program. I did that song for a lady out there at a sold-out house show that I did. It wasn't just her, it was for a group of people, and I told the story behind it and how I wanted to make sure that I came across to where, you know, veterans need help too. And she's like, thank you so much for what you're doing for PTSD, because my husband died 2 years ago from suicide. And she's like, this is really a huge mission, and I applaud you for doing it. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I like to hear. And it's not what you would call to make me self-righteous or to say like, hey, I did that. It just lets me know that what I'm doing is actually sticking, and what I'm trying to do for whether it's the veteran community or the people is to where they're getting my message, and it's like striking a nerve with them, and it should, because that's what I'm about. You know, I'm going to write what I want to write, record what I want to record, because I know my demographic and I know my audience.
And this is one of the things I've been around music myself, toyed around with a couple things, in a different lifetime ago. And one of the things that's tough for folks to understand is to do what you do is not just about a skill base. You know what I mean? There is absolutely a level of skill involved to this that is on a next level, but it's not just that. It's you. It's at your core. It's part of who you are. And to be a successful artist, especially vocal artist, you need to be able to transmit that. And when you're successful in doing that, man, that reward, when
Yeah.
you can, I've never encountered, at that level, but there were some times where I was barking away at some karaoke here and there. And, I had an entire bar, on its feet, clapping and moving. And oh my Lord, that you can feel that energy coming from that crowd. So when you take that and then combine it with the heart matters, where knowing that this is long lasting healing that's taken place through music, bro, that is some powerful, powerful stuff. And it's a gift that you guys deliver out there. So yeah, I get it 100%. And it's, for folks out there that, watch it and see it unfold firsthand. And then you understand what that healing's all about.
Yeah,
Super, super
you
cool.
hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, you can feel the energy from the crowd. And I tell everybody, we play for 5 people like we play for 5,000 or 50,000. Granted, we'd like to play for 50,000 people just because the energy that comes from the crowd with 50,000 is a lot more
Wow.
than it is with five. But, and I haven't played for 50,000, but I played for 20,000 when we opened for Trace Atkins. And it's just a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a feeling and an adrenaline rush that I can't explain. But when something like that happens, every inch of everything that you've got just comes out. And it's just like
Yeah.
you hit this euphoric level that you can never come down from. And it takes like 2 weeks to do it. But,
Yep.
but that is true. We put on a show for 5 people like we do 15,000, man, because it's, those 5 people decided to show up and see what I was about. And you never. I learned something when I first moved to town. You never know who you're talking to, and you never know who's in a crowd. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be a music executive. It doesn't have to be a billionaire. I mean, it could just be that one person like that lady out in Texas who I
Yep.
actually touched and got that kind of response from. But yeah, it
That's awesome.
grabs for me, music and what I'm doing and the writing aspect of it grabbed me at an early age. And I would hate to say this, but I'm an honest person. I've got integrity or whatever, but music has defined my entire life.
Sure.
I have. This has been a chase that I've been on since I was a teenager. I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I knew where I wanted to be. And like you said, man, here in town, man, there's probably 500 singers that will sing me under the table. But I can guarantee you, I can count on one hand how many people's going to outwork me. You
Right.
can take that to the bank.
Exactly.
But it's not. Unfortunately, it's not just about how well you can sing. I mean, you can be the best vocalist in the world and be a dud on stage. I mean, it has to be a full-fledged thing. You've got to have the work ethic. You've got to be able to carry a tune, but you also need to have a platform. You got to have that platform to where you know who your demographic is and who your audience is, because ultimately those are going to become your following. They're also going to become, quote unquote, your customer base. So you've got to make sure that you know exactly who you are as an artist and exactly what you're trying to portray to your people. And I think that's where a lot of people in town end up just not really honing in on that aspect of it. And they come up short, because I know a friggin' pile of people that I'm like, man, what happened? Why not? And then I'll sit there and watch them and I'm like, man, they will pick a cover song note for note. But whenever you ask them to play one of theirs, you can't feel it.
Yep.
There's no defining moment in that original material. And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with playing Broadway and being a cover band if that's what you want to do, because that
Sure.
you can make a really good living doing it.
Yep.
But that's what you're gonna be, is just another bar band. And I hardly ever play downtown because I moved here to write and be an artist. And there's nothing wrong with playing downtown. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I want to attract masses of people because of what my mission is with Stop 22 and Warriors on Mission and with my songs and what I'm doing out there on the road. I just want to make sure that I leave nothing untouched if I can do it.
Dude, there's so many, and I wanted to just interject this as well. A lot of our listeners and followers and people that pick this up either live or recorded, however, they come from the angling community. And there's a couple things that you have said that I can translate right back to these anglers. The first one was the point you made about being around family and friends, and then you went to Nashville and just that humble pie piece. The same can be said for many of the anglers that fish the local scenes, fish the regional stuff, and then they go fishing national, something that brings in people from all over the place. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, Nelly, I'm just one of the guys. I'm not the guy anymore.
Yeah.
And so that is absolutely, totally relatable. And then this last piece of what you were just talking about, I know some of the best anglers I've ever met have never fished a tournament a day in their life, but yet you put them in a tournament and they're going to struggle. Because there's more to it than just one set of skills. There's being a professional at what you do. And that's what it seems to me what you're really talking about there is not only do you have to have this and this and this, but you also need to have this set of skills. Like you said, know your audience, know who you're talking to. A la Budweiser.
Yeah.
They didn't pay attention to their audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's understanding the business side of that thing that we love and, of doing that. So yeah, I totally get it, man. It's,
To
you
go
watch
back
that
to your
happen.
fishing analogy, man, it's one thing to fish in your grandpa's pond. It's another one to pre-fish in Lake Gunnersville and try to figure out where the daggone big fish are. And if you've got the right boat with the right horsepower to get out there first at daybreak. Yeah, I mean it's just the same thing. I mean it's one thing to play a honky tonk back home. It's another one to come up here and play the Bluebird. That's the most intimidated I've ever been in my life, man. Just me and my guitar in that stage in a sold out room.
Yeah.
You could have heard a pin drop, and I was nervous as a freaking tick, man. You probably could have stuck an English P up my backside. I was so tight. I am not kidding, man. That is, I've been doing this for a while, and every time I walk in that place, I've only played it twice, but both times, knowing what I was going into the second time, I still couldn't get past the nerves because it's so intimidating because nobody's talking. It's quiet. If you make one wrong strum on the guitar, if you go sharp, if you go flat during your delivery, it's just like, man, why did I agree to do this?
You got no band to cover that stuff up,
Yeah,
man,
exactly,
when it's that intimate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well, and the true fan, at least in my opinion, and I think you get a lot of them there in Nashville too. We had a chance to I stopped by Old Red, of course, when we were there, and had to see that old Blake's place. Had to check that out.
yeah, it's a cool spot.
It was. Saw Elijah Wise. He was actually playing the day that we came in there and took a look at that place. But I think one of the things that true music lovers understand about live music is the rawness of it. And sometimes, I know for me personally, I heard this, believe it or not, pardon me if this is too corny, but I heard this mentioned on one of the episodes of The Voice. And I think it came from either Blake or it possibly came from, actually, it was Chance the Rapper that said this. He said, I would rather hear some imperfections if I could feel the emotions coming from you. I'm okay with you getting a little pitchy or getting a little flat here and there. I'm okay with that if that emotion's coming through. Now, if I can't feel either one of those two things, now we got a problem. But if I'm feeling the emotion that I can see that you are really in that tune, yeah, we're okay with that. That's part of the beauty that is, live music, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about emotion, man. And it's all about, and country music is conversational, right? So I was writing with somebody yesterday and I can't remember what line they wrote. It's like, well, I guess I barely have to go and admit it. I was like, so tell me something. He said, what? I was like, I don't claim to know everything. I said, but country music is conversational. He said, yeah. I It's like, so would you say that in your everyday vocabulary? Is that how you would say that to your buddy? No. I was like, well, don't put it in a song.
Exactly.
It's like if you say it the way you would say it to somebody else, but you're singing it the way you would say it and you're putting the emotion behind it, that makes it conversational and that makes it believable and it also makes you authentic. I
Amen.
was like, so that's the way you need to write. You need to remember less is more. You got to tell a whole book inside of 3 minutes and 5 seconds or less. And it can be done, but it's just like going to the gym, man. It's working a muscle. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the first 5 years, man, I wrote so much stuff, but I've still got a folder and I've still got all of my notes, man, because you know what? Shit makes the best fertilizer. It does. And anytime that I'm writing a song, if I realize, hey, I wrote this somewhere else, I go back and pull it and I'm like, I know what I was trying to say there, but now I can say it better, but I can flip the script on it to say the same thing, but say it a different way to where it comes across better in a song.
Dude, I love that. I love that analogy because by that measure and by your philosophy, my brother, I'm about to have a hell of a tournament because my results leading up to this have been nothing but a steaming pile of dumpster fire leading up. So that means I am fertilizing for one hell of an event coming up.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
And that's not just, with songwriting. I mean, you can apply that, like you said, in fishing or everyday
Everything.
life. Yeah. Everything that turns to shit turns to fertilizer. It just depends on how much you irrigate it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get some mileage out of that. Hopefully the royalties aren't too bad on that.
That's copyrighted by Chris Turner Inc.
Love it. Love it.
But
so here's a question for you. So when you started getting into music and you're writing as a teenager and then you get in the Marine Corps and you're picking up, some tunes and you're writing even more, how did you teach yourself to read music and the vocal piece of it? I mean, how did that piece, because that's something still to this date I can't do. I can't read music. I don't know if I could tell you what a G letter chord is. I don't know any of that stuff, but I'll get up there on the karaoke and actually not stink it out. I mean, I won't get like a beer thrown at me or anything. I mean, I'm not going to compete with you fellas, but but yeah, how did you teach yourself that? What was involved? Because this is, I'm going to say, and I'm not going to date you, but this is like maybe pre-YouTube days, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing that, yeah, shoot, if you're 97 to 01, YouTube wasn't so easily accessible. Oh, don't worry. I got you whooped all day on the age thing.
And that's something about it, man, is like, I can't read music either. Now, I learned I had a guy show me how to play chords, and I learned how to look at tablature throughout, like, when I was in the Corps, like, we didn't have the internet back in, 99 and 2000 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we had this thing called Guitar Magazine or Tablature or whatever. So whenever I was like at the PX or something like that, I'd pick up Guitar Magazine and I'd look at the tablature because I could see the tablature to where to place your fingers at on the fretboard. Oh, so he would show me like a G, a D, and an A chord. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's an E minor. And it says it in there, E minor, put your middle finger and your index finger on the third, on the third, the fourth and the fifth string, right? So then I'm like strumming that. I'm like, okay, that's an E minor chord. And then I learned the chords by the finger placement that the magazine taught me.
That's
but
badass.
As far as reading music, I can't read music. I just can't. Now, I can look at, but which in Nashville, you don't read music to play music. So if you go into a studio session, most of the session players use charts. And Nashville session players are, well, even the Nashville musicians, it's called the Nashville number system. So you got seven things on the Nashville number system, right? So everything starts like you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it starts back over at A, right? But you don't go to number 8. So you've got 7 letters and 7 notes on that Nashville number system.
Gotcha.
So the way it works is like if it's in the key of A, and you can look at the Nashville chart and it says, all right, it's in the key of A, it's 1, 4, 5. So you got A, then you got B, C. So it's going to be an A, a C chord, and then 4 is going to be your D chord. So if you look at the Nashville number system, it's like, okay, we're playing an A, C, and a D on this particular line in the first verse. So that's how the sessions work in Nashville. It's all based off the Nashville number system.
That's so cool. I had no idea. Look at that. Teaching stuff.
I mean, they've got
dog.
Yeah, they've got like what do you call it? I mean, they still got like the symphony and the orchestra and those guys. They read the actual sheet music and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
whenever you're doing what I'm doing, it's more about the Nashville number system. So
Right.
yeah, but I learned the chords, the chord structure, and all that stuff from magazines.
That is so cool, man. Appreciate you educating us on that whole piece there.
Yeah, man.
That was always something to me that it's like, yeah, I don't think I know I'm not tone deaf because I can tell when someone's out of, not hitting things right. I can tell when they go flat, or certain things. I can pick that up. And I can tell when I, do the same thing. I can't tell you what it is I'm doing wrong. It's
Right.
like, well, maybe I need to breathe more. Maybe I need to grab air better, on that. And then, stay in the pocket better. I understand that type of, piece.
And
But
the more
yeah,
you do it, man, it becomes, like with us when we're touring, we've got a set that we play every night in a different city. So the more you play the same set, the more you perfect the same set, the more it just becomes muscle memory to you.
that's awesome.
Whereas, like, if you looked at me today and said, hey, here's your set list for tomorrow night, which a lot of people do that on Broadway, I'd be like, all right, man. I'll knock the dust off of it and give her a go, but I can't tell you what's coming out the other end, bro.
I love it.
But like, even when we get requests downtown, or if we're doing like a 4-hour set somewhere and somebody wants to hear, like the other night, somebody wanted to hear "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd, and my guitar player, he just started playing it, and I got into the groove, and I went back to whenever I was a teenager and all the house parties and the bonfires and stuff, and I was like, I remember this song, and then I just got into it,
That's
because
awesome.
I remember singing it to the top of my lungs whenever I was a teenager.
That is so cool.
But then if somebody comes at me and wants me to sing Blocko Brown, it's not going to happen. I mean, that's just not my wheelhouse. And I was like, hey, man, you know what? If you want me to attempt it, just an attempt, it's a $500 tip. Like, right.
That's the cost. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. You want to see me making an ass out of myself? It's going to cost
you. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
How many days out of the year would you say that you guys are on the road between your normal touring and then the benefit work that you do with Stop 22 and Warriors Mission?
This year's getting off to a slow start, believe it or not. And it's not just me. It's everybody that I know. It's like, man, the first quarter has been like brutal for trying to book tour dates.
Mm-hmm.
But we really start picking up June the 19th when we go to North Dakota for the Rough Riders thing.
That's so awesome. You're going to that one, man.
Yeah, then we're going to be at the Combat Veterans Stop 22 tour in Marion, Illinois in the beginning of July. And then we're going out and we're playing Mountain Dew Park in Illinois. And I've got Freedom Tour shows with Warriors on Mission in Chicago and Dayton, Ohio in August. And I think we're doing one big one here in Nashville sometime that month. So
nice.
My major tour schedule is going to pick up in June. And once we do that, for 6 months, I mean, we'll probably have 50, 60 dates. But I mean, 2 years ago, we did 125 dates.
Yep.
So, and a lot of it was, right after COVID. So some of them were, here around town doing benefit work for, Stop 22 or Warriors Garden from Doc Gaskins or whatever it was. So for me, it's all about, when I first got here to Nashville, it's all about the stars in my eyes and I gotta be a star and this and that. For me, man, now I've been doing it for a while and I just want to finish what I started. For being a Marine and just like not finishing, not being able to take the hill is like something for me to where no is not an option. So
I love it.
We're releasing a new single. Probably, I think we're talking about the end of June, 1st of July, and really excited about it. And it's gonna be really good. And we're gonna see what kind of push that does. And I'm really excited about it. So.
I'm excited too, man, and we will do everything on our side to help promote the heck out of that because you guys, the amount of healing that you guys bring out there, and the amount of just people, the sheer number of people that you currently and have the potential to even further touch and impact is so important. I mean, it's the start piece. I know that Brian and I were just talking about this the other day. I had him on a live broadcast. You know what? The economy is not any better, man. It has taken a toll in these last 3 years that that is absolutely it felt across everyone's board. So that makes total sense to me that places are slowing down, not being able to book
Mhm.
as much on the entertainment side. Um, just at that piece. I'm crossing fingers, hoping that we got some brighter days ahead of us. That we will
Yeah.
see. We'll get this economy straightened out. We'll get America basically, back to remembering that that is very important piece to taking care of a lot of stuff, and that will open up even more. But yeah, man, it's the work that you guys do is so important, and it's so powerful. um, Brian and I say if we got to do it one at a time, we'll do it one at a time. But I know for a fact that with you guys on the Stop 22 and you Marines out there running around doing this, dude, you don't just hit one at a time. You hit, you have the potential, like you said, hit 15,000 people at one time,
Mhm.
and every last one of them absolutely need to hear the message. They need to know that there's people out there, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
it's important, man, and that they're not alone and feeling what they're feeling, and it's cool. It's all right to feel what you feel, man. There's nothing.
Yeah.
You're not weird because of that. It's totally okay.
And unfortunately, man, being an independent artist and not signed with a major label, right? Everything that I do, like I said, I'm doing this full time. It comes out of my pocket.
Yes,
So
sir.
to keep it running, it has to be shows and you've got to have income coming in, or whether that's sponsorships or private investors that believe in what you're doing. And it's not just for me being an independent artist. It's the same thing for Romans Warrior Foundation or Stop 22 or Warriors on Mission.
Yes,
We
sir.
can't continue our mission unless we have people that believe in our mission that will help contribute to our mission to get the word out to where we can bring those dollars in to actually make a huge impact.
Yes, sir.
And
Well,
with the
and
economy being the way it is, it's been really tough to do that.
it has. It has. It's when I was interviewing Brian, I brought him on live. He was doing DoorDash, man. He was at the same time he was out there, and I'm like, I got to talk to him because we've been considering the same thing here at the True Patriot side. My wife is amazing, and the support system. I don't deserve the level of support that she gives me, but at the same time, there's a pride factor. I'm tired of being an expense. It's like we don't take anything. No one's getting any kind of paycheck from any of this nonprofit work we do, And so, yeah, if it's DoorDash or if it's, grocery shopping for somebody that I can fill in, we'll do that too. I don't really care.
I hustle, man. I ain't gonna lie. When I'm not on the road, I'm out driving for Uber.
Yep.
I'm doing whatever I can to keep money coming in to where I can take that cash and put it into recording, or I can
Amen.
put it into merchandise, or whatever the case may be. Because once the tour season starts up, everything will start rolling. But
Right.
there's a whole quarter there to where marketing dollars, advertising, promotions, and videos, and everything. So just because I'm not working doesn't mean the wheel stops.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's the funny thing about the music industry is it goes in one big circle, and if you get one peg right in the middle of the spoke, everything stops. It really does.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So now, where are you originally? You're not originally from Nashville. Where are you originally from?
I'm from a little town called 96, South Carolina. We have
South Carolina. Nice.
2 red lights, a Hardee's, and a Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. I love it, man.
Yep. And
I hit every one that
I stretched more barbed wire and slung more square bells than I care to count.
I love it. And that's the thing, man. You're an avid angler, man. You got probably some stuff you can teach me out there. And
I don't know about all that, but I love to wet a line whenever I got time to do it.
We absolutely need to get out in your boat. We'll get out in the kayaks. I find myself in your neck of the woods a lot. And this year, I actually helped get that North Dakota gig set up for Brian initially. He was kind of swamped with about 72 other things. So I took lead and then turned it over to him after we got some contracts lined up. But I wanted to make it to that one. But unfortunately, the schedule is just not going to make it possible. I would have to go up there and then be gone I'd be away from the house again for 3 weeks straight. And I decided at this part of my career at age 50, I'm not okay with being gone for that long at a time. It's like, no, we need to be able to come back, check in here, remind, the why we're doing this, type thing. So, but I will see you at the Marion, Illinois thing. We will have the kayaks in tow there.
I think we're coming to do a 22 event out in Colorado in September, right?
Yep. That's the plan. Yep.
That's the plan. Yeah. I remember we had briefly talked about that. So that's going to be really cool too.
It is, and at that point, we'll have to see what the schedule and everything is looking like on those dates with this with everything, and then yeah, sooner or later, you and I are going to get out. We're going to do some fishing. We're going to get this stuff recorded because I think it's going to be a blast. I think we're going to have a ton of fun. You can
Oh
teach me how to fish down there in
we'll have a good time.
South Carolina because I stunk up the show last time I was down there. That's some beautiful, beautiful area, man. I got to tell you, when we went to Hartwell, um, there was a road we wanted to avoid Atlanta, so we crossed the mountain pass to go through. I didn't think places like that existed outside of Colorado, but y'all
Was
have.
it the Blue Ridge Parkway?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
It looked like we were here in Colorado, except way more trees and just a lot lower elevation. Obviously I could breathe a lot easier out there.
yeah.
And yeah, it was just so gorgeous. We went through North Carolina, South. I mean, we went through like 4 or 5 states just to get down to Hartwell there. It was a
Yeah.
awesome drive.
That's the Blue Ridge Parkway through the Smoky Mountains. Yeah.
And they are rightfully named that.
What's that?
They are rightfully named that.
Yeah.
That mist, that haze that stays around there. That is so cool.
That's right.
I watching a History Channel a while back found out my ancestors, which my heritage is Scottish. We are the Scottish immigrants long ago is actually the beginnings of hillbillies. That is, I mean, it's quite it's quite the heritage to have, let me tell you. But
right bastards.
It is, because when the Highlanders came over from Scotland, that area is very, very similar to where, it's the type of lifestyle living in the Highlands. And, obviously in Scotland, they don't have as many trees as we have, as you have in there. But yeah, that was, it was the very roots of the hillbillies living back. They didn't want people messing with them. They wanted to be left alone. And, they made their own little villages out in there. So super cool to find out hillbillies. That's where I come from.
Man, that's funny.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for stopping by here and chatting with us and sharing your story with us here. People need to absolutely check you guys out. We continue to put this up and show this, that how important this is with the careers that you guys have chosen, and then the mission that you're on out there. And just flat out, dude, you guys are badass artists and you're fun to listen to outside of, all the other touchy feely stuff. You guys put out some damn good music that is awesome to pick up. And considering it's real music, the way I look at it, maybe I'm old or whatever, but I love listening to your guys' stuff, man. And
there's like a huge paradigm shift coming now, man. Everybody's wanting to get back to like the storytelling. I'm like, y'all wanted the whole bro country lane, man. Stay out of my lane. This is my lane. But the cool thing about all of us as Stop 22 artists, if you listen to all of us, we all have the same message, if you will.
Yes,
but
sir.
We all have different styles and stylistically music. Like Tyler, for instance. Dude sounds like he daggum swallowed the Sahara Desert. love his voice, man. But he's got that whole Jamie Johnson, gritty, grindy, just like Tracy Lawrence kind of feel to him, right?
Yep.
And Sal's just like, he's got a sound of all of his own. And I mean, so does Steven. But like for me, it's like I write what I feel, and I think my stuff is more or less like it's 90s traditional with like a modern twist to it. And, whenever we're rehearsing, my band leader, he's been with me for the longest. He's been with me for like 10 years. And we're sitting here and we're going through rehearsal. He's like, don't do that. We're a rock show. We're doing a rock show. Because we are so high energy when we hit the stage. So I think it's like traditional, not necessarily traditional, but traditional 90s country meets like modern Jason Aldean meets Johnny Cash and Haggard.
Some Southern rock action.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, it's just like, that's just where we land. That's just where I landed. And that's the kind of sound that we went after. And even on the recordings, even whenever it's not live, if you listen to some of the recordings, I mean, you can get that 90s good feel country music to it. And, there was 6 or 7 years ago, I was like, man, that's country. I was like, it's because I write and play country music. Yeah, that's not what's getting cut. I was like, yeah, and that's not country.
exactly.
You know, but
No,
I mean, the great thing is like the great thing I love about country music is there's a bunch of different subgenres to it, and
sure.
it's a forgiving industry to where you don't have to like label it or put yourself in a box. You can just express your creativity any way you want to.
You know,
You know,
that's what it's one of the things that I've actually enjoyed. And while it may not be my taste, in some of that music that's in country music now, it's not my favorite.
right?
At the same note, I know that some people still love it. And you know what? If that brings them to country music, then cool. You
And
know what I
God
mean?
love them, man. I mean,
Yeah, there's plenty of room out there. It doesn't have to
yeah.
just be this. It can be all these things. And we can not maybe like it as our first best, but still respect the fact that, hey, some people do, man. So let's, rock
Mhm.
out. Do what you do you.
And the great thing is, man, is even though I may not like their music, I applaud the piss out of them, man, because they found a niche and they carved it and they were able to do what all of us strive to do, which is to make a living doing it and to touch lives. And
Amen.
that's the great thing about, the industry as a whole. I may not like, I don't know, Huck Angler shirts.
Yeah.
I might prefer Patagonia or Columbia, but it doesn't mean that I don't like, I'm going to dislike you because you like Huck. It just means it's just not my type. It's just not my flavor.
You
But
know, on the national scene, we have a series that's like that for kayak angling, Hobie Boss series. Um, does not permit motors into it. Because of that, I don't I don't um, feed into their claim of being the best anglers, in the nation fish there, because quite frankly, they segregate out a section of anglers that use trolling motors on their kayaks that I think could compete with with them on any day. However, no one can argue the fact that Hobie has pretty much single-handedly blazed the door open to show people that there is room for the professional circuit here. They're putting 150 plus anglers, and nobody can dispute the fact that the top 10 Hobie Boss, anglers out there are some of the best in the nation, if not arguably maybe the best. Who knows? So I can 100%, love what AJ has done over there for that series and how they've opened the door. Just not my deal, man. Allow motors in, and then I'll start taking a look at it. For
exactly.
me, it's the All American Kayak Series for me personally, just because I love the fact that they pay attention to the Midwest, and they take care of the anglers first. So, but yeah, I get it,
To
man.
each his own, man. To each his own. You know.
Amen. Well, man, yeah, and that's the key out there. I think you were talking about the voice recognition. I have zero problem. I can pick you, Steven, Sal, and Tyler out just hearing your voice. I know exactly it's you immediately from that. And that's one of the things I love so much. The more and more, I admittedly have not um, exposed myself to more and more of the Stop 22 stable, because there is a long list of artists that are
Yeah.
involved with helping us. Um, it's just been mainly I've been following and really trying to get to know you guys that I've had an opportunity and the honor to meet and see out there. So yeah, I have in my playlist on my YouTube music, man. I've got your music in there. That's rolling through this stuff on my playlist that I have out there. I've got Sal, I got Tyler in there. Steven, I was having some issues on YouTube. I don't know what it was. I don't know if some of his music it might be bootlegged music that someone recorded, and maybe that's why it was
Yeah.
kicking it out or whatever. But yeah, it's I can tell your voices pretty easily now after listening to your tunes and such. And the one story I want to share with folks on this, because this was super cool. So I'm a fight fan, boxing from long ago, back when boxing was still fun. Now it's so convoluted and garbage. I haven't followed it, but I moved over to MMA and had been an MMA fan for a long time. You and I met. We had some business to take care of, and I was stopping through Murfreesboro, and we're sitting there chatting, and I asked you, "Hey, man, in that if I drink or if you drink video, is that Randy Couture in that?" And you were like, yeah, that's Randy. You're like, yeah, Randy. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's Captain America, dude. I mean, Randy. That was unbelievably cool. How did that? I mean, I don't want to miss that one. How did you go about meeting Randy and then obviously having him in your music videos and such? How'd that all come down?
So I was playing a show up in Sydney, Ohio for a buddy of mine up there. He had booked me a run up there, so I'd go up there and hang out. I was doing some acoustic shows. Well, he's tied in with a buddy of his down in Georgia, and his buddy in Georgia and Randy were best friends.
Okay.
Well, Randy, they put together a Extreme Couture GI Foundation poker run ride together down there, and at the end of the show, they have an after party, right? So Gary Allen played the big show, and then the after party was at a place, I think it was Outlaw Saloon, yeah, in Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
And his buddy called him and said, "Hey man, I need an artist to come down here and play the after party for Randy's ride." He's like, "Well, hey man, my buddy Chris will come down there and do it." So I went down there, me and the guys, we went down there and we played the show. So during that whole time frame, I was working with Randy. It was his event, and we were, we got to hang out, but we became friendly, and I got his number, and I didn't wear him out or anything. Every once in a while, I'd be like, "Happy Veterans Day, brother," or "Happy," whatever, because he's an Army vet also, and believe it or not, he's a songwriter. He's got a really cool song that Daryl Worley cut called 22.
Nice.
And it's on Spotify also. But I hit him back and just stayed in touch with him over the course of the next year and a half or whatever. And then whenever If You Drink landed in my lap, because I didn't write that song, a buddy of mine pitched it to me, and I heard it, and I called him immediately because I just loved the storyline to it. I was like, "Man, what were you guys thinking when you wrote this song?" And he's like, "Man, we just came across this old Irish toast hanging in a bar, and we just wrote this song." I was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, let me tell you how I see it. It's like all these veterans struggling with PTSD, they're always self-medicating and drinking. It's like, so essentially what I envision is this guy who's singing this song is like talking to his veteran buddies, like, if you're going to drink, don't drink by yourself. Come drink one with us."
Right.
I had this whole idea of like a vet laying in the bed, just looking at pills in a bottle and just debating on what to do. And then he took off and he rode to the VFW, and but the icing on the cake was whenever I found out the Vietnam War Memorial, the Traveling Memorial, was going to be in Nashville. Oh, wow. So I hit Randy up. I was like, "Hey man, look, I hate to bother you, but I'm just curious to know if you would play the vet in this video. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on with charity, and I know you're busy filming Expendables and you're doing all this other stuff." I was like, "But I really think this would be great." And I sent it to him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm in, man." He's like, "Matter of fact, I'll come up there and I'll direct it for you too." So he directed the video, and he's in the video. And then once we got the video shot, he came up for my EP release party, the video release party, and we flew out to Vegas and we did some shows with him. And I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. I was like, "Man, I miss Vegas. I got to get back out there." He's like, "Well, let me see what I can work on." He's like, "Right now I'm in the middle of commentating for the PFL, but we need to get back together." So he's been a huge Chris Turner fan. I know, not say fan, but a huge Chris Turner supporter since I met him.
That is awesome, man.
The thing about it is, man, honestly, I ain't gonna lie. I knew who Randy was, but I didn't really start watching the UFC until after I met him.
Okay.
And oddly enough, one of the first people I met when I moved to town was Rich Franklin.
Okay.
I still stay in touch with Rich.
Oh,
and it's
ace.
because now Rich and Randy are reconnected again after they've left, because Rich is the one, he's the 1FC vice president over in Malaysia. So he's doing all that stuff, and Randy's over here. And it was just weird how it's like, man, I just keep, making these contacts in the UFC world. And I never really watched the UFC until after I met Randy. And it was like, not because it was Randy. It was just like, well, I met Rich. I never watched his fights. Now I've met Randy in the UFC. I need to see what all this hype's about. And then I started watching it. Once I started watching it, Conor McGregor came out, and, you've got Silva and Rampage Jackson and all these guys. I'm like, I'm going back watching all these fights. It's like, yeah. I was like,
Dude,
why in the world did I never watch this?
I'll tell you what, and then to have Ace and Randy, I mean, two Hall of Famers that blaze the door for most of the guys that, you're talking names out there. I mean, those guys were the guys that literally blood, sweat, and tears that opened the door for so many other athletes, in the UFC.
They were the original gladiators of the UFC, man.
100%.
They put it on the map, yeah.
Randy was
Joe Ortiz and Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture and Rich Franklin and like I said, Anderson Silva and all those guys. I mean, they really built the hype up around it to help Dana White and those guys get it off the ground.
Oh, 100%. It was on their backs that
Yeah.
put UFC on there. I mean, people didn't show up to watch the promoters, man. They showed up to watch those guys put their heart on the line out there, and none demonstrated it better than Captain America himself, Randy. I mean,
Right.
Randy took on giants. Still one of the, and I know for Randy, it's cannot be a big feather in his cap, but when he choked out James Lights Out Tony, that was one of the absolute, just because Tony's from a boxing world, obviously, and I always thought Tony had a big mouth for him anyway in the boxing community.
Yeah.
So to see him put on all that weight and to even dare think he could step in the ring with Randy Couture, I'm like, are you kidding me? Randy basically had him ready to go to sleep inside of a few minutes. It was like, yeah, this one's going to be over in a hurry. But
great thing about Randy and Ace both, man, is they're both just humble, kind, caring individuals who, just like me, I mean, we just want to leave the world a little bit better than what we found it. And I mean, it truly comes across in all their philanthropy and what they do. So yeah, it's really cool.
So that's the song, folks. If You Drink by Chris Turner, look it up, find it out there. What are some of the, it's obviously on YouTube for sure.
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube, Vivo. I mean, you can find it if you just Google it, it'll pop up.
Check out
huge PR push with it. So I mean, yeah, you'll find it.
The song is amazing. The video is amazing. You'll absolutely love it. It's worth every minute of it to go check it out there. So make sure and do that for sure. Well, listen, brother, I think we have pretty well covered the gamut here. I don't want this to be a one and done. I want to keep this happening here, where I have a rotation of you guys coming back in, getting us up to speed with what events, coming up. Speaking of, let's hit that before we head out of here. What's so you just talked about, is it primarily coming up here? The events for you in that area are on the Stop 22 tour, or do you have any local events coming up right now? What's your immediate say to cover throughout the summer look like right now, where people can come see you?
We're always doing Stop 22 shows, like every Tuesday and Wednesday nights. I'm playing a private party downtown tonight at a place called Teddy's right off of Broadway.
Nice.
But next week I'm off. The week after that I'm off, and then it starts back up in June.
Got it.
So, I mean, and then like I said, we hit the road and go to North Dakota, and then the Illinois show in Chicago, and yeah. So.
And the Stop 22.
I got a call from my management today, and she's introducing me to my new booking agent tomorrow.
Nice.
And from what I'm being told, her resume just completely precedes herself. So, whenever I have that conversation, I'll be like, look, if I work, you get paid. If I don't, you don't.
Yep.
Period. Because, I mean, booking agents take a commission off of it. But I'm like, the more I get paid, the more money you make. I was like, but the end goal is to get me in front of as many people as you possibly can because of my platform and my mission.
Amen.
So I'm really excited about it. So we're going to have that conversation tomorrow.
Super cool. The Stop 22 stuff. We have Heroes Den in Murfreesboro. And where's the other? There's another location that we're starting to do some Stop 22 at as well, isn't there?
Yeah. What is it? The Tilted Mule.
Tilted Mule.
Yeah. Doc Gaskins, who is an Army vet, man, he's a combat medic, and great dude, man. He's also a veteran service officer, in Middle Tennessee. So, he puts that one on, and we're trying to get one in just about every location that the artists are located in Middle Tennessee. So, like, they want me to try to develop one here in Goodlettsville or north of Nashville, because I live north of town.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. I've just got to slow down long enough to call in those favors and make it happen. But I've got a couple of venues that I definitely want to reach out to, because I think the more that we have them and rotate them out, and we advertise for it, the more people will show up. And every time they come in, all the tip money and all that stuff goes to Stop 22 Foundation, Stop 22 Tour, and the Romans Warrior Foundation. So
that's perfect stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that keeps the train moving. That's what we're trying to do out there. And that's those Stop 22 nights. Those are open mic nights, right? For any vets want to come in there and jump up on the mic.
Not a vet, if you show up and you want to play, well, you can jump up there and play a couple songs, and it's like a veteran hang, man, and we welcome in anybody from the public just to do the same, and we just have fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of like a musician's mess night.
Nice. Nice. I love it. I love it. All right, man. Well, listen, like I said, we're going to make this a habit from here on out. We are following along with you. We will, you let us know what the True Patriot Outfitters can do, brother. And you know, you've got us, consider us an asset out here. We're not big yet, but as we've all been talking here, man, it's all about the mission. We'll just keep things rolling, and anything we can do to help get that message out there and get people seeing the impact. That's absolutely what we'll do.
Sounds good, man.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, folks, check out, let me throw those back up here real quick. We've got his Facebook is at cturner96. Instagram is at Chris Turner Music. Go check him out there. Google the songs that Google him, and you will see the laundry list of work that he has done out there. You're going to absolutely love the music from all these guys, especially Mr. Turner. And yeah, man, it's always support. The more people we got following, the more people we got potential to get our message out there. So as always, folks, we appreciate all of your support. Make sure to smash that subscribe button for us. That is a big way to stick with us. After the exit here, Chris, I'll chat with you here real fast. So as always, folks, tight lines and be safe.
Semper Fi.
Together.